Is that you done, or is there other areas you're looking at?
Yeah, I get agents ringing all the time, to be fair, and I never say, when they say you're still looking for players, I think as managers you always look for players, I think, but you've got to get in better than what you've got, otherwise I don't see there's no reason in changing the squad. I've tried to stay away from loans as much as I can this year because I feel that, one thing that winning leagues or getting promotion, you need to have that bondage and that atmosphere in the changing room. And I'm not saying that loans don't sort of participate in that, but it's nice if you've got your own players because you can do what you need to do, and everybody's buying into the same thing. So that's what we've tried to do. We've stayed away from that. I've been offered a lot of youngsters from pro clubs and bits and pieces, but Phil's obviously our player, and so is Chris, and I think that makes it a little bit healthier for us.
When we spoke just before Christmas, we talked about the fact that you hadn't won for a while, but it was a long run of draws, wasn't it? You must be feeling you're building up a head of steam now with those 3 wins on the bounce.
Yeah, when we spoke before, we set ourselves a target that we are looking to try and be in the playoffs. I think there's 2 Stalford games that we had. I thought the second one was a lot tougher, but if we are going to achieve anything this year, we should really be taking maximum points off teams down the bottom. We then moved on to the Whitehawk game, and I do feel that when you look at Whitehawk, they're definitely not they're not in that position because they are actually in that league position. But as far as I'm concerned, you look at their team, and that's to me, I would think the team that should be eating around the playoffs because everywhere from start to finish, they was all good players that I recognise at this level and that have been higher. So we thought that was a really good result. It was a bit of a game where it was a little bit nip and tuck. I think both keepers on the day done well, and it was just fortunate that we managed to get over the line and get the goal. And I was quite pleased the way we see the game out as well. I felt that once we'd got in front, we took the 3 points, and we were quite resolute in our defending, and even like the likes of Chris Dixon, he come on and he run the clock down by a bit of experience and things like that, which maybe sometimes we've gone for the second goal, and we have conceded quite a lot of late goals which have cost us points. So that was really pleasing to see that we managed to get over the line with a good 1-0 victory.
Well, it's the FA Trophy next. Obviously, it's not the ideal draw, is it? It's someone in your own division and away from home as well. Is this an important competition for you in Chelmsford City? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we had this thing with the FA Cup, and we've always said that any of these competitions, even the Essex Senior Cup, is important to us because the club's been sort of how can I say it's been on its haunches, if you like, for a few years, where it's been a little bit probably starved of any sort of promotions, and probably until you go back and look at the Colchester game in the FA Cup, I don't think it's really been. It's not had as much cup competition as it should do over here. So we're trying to work on that as well, and staying in the competition is something that we really want to do come Saturday. So we know it'll be tough. We know that they're a good side. They've just beat East Thurrock 6-1. We've already played them twice. We drew in the league, so that was a draw there. And we nearly come back and done the unthinkable in the FA Cup when we were 3-0 down. And really pushed it, and I think it was only the matter of the bar and the post that stopped us getting a replay. So, we know they're a good side. They've strengthened 1 or 2 players as well, like ourselves. So I think it'll be tough. I know Tony Berman very well, and I know his teams have been in around the playoffs, and not that long ago they was in the conference. So, and I think they've kept quite a few players still that was in the conference. So there's still what I would call an experienced side that have been together a long time. It's always a little bit of an awkward place to go to Dartford. As you know, it's quite a new stadium. They get a decent crowd over there, and they're quite volatile as well, and vocal. So we've just got to go there and try and, on our day, be slightly better than them in the right areas. And I don't see that. I think anybody looking at that will know it's going to be a tough game. But I'm sure they'd probably rather another draw, as much as we would have probably liked probably a little bit of an easier winnable one if there is one in the competition. But we go with it. We obviously weather permitting, because as you know we're sitting here doing an interview, and the weather out there is quite it's snowing and whatever. So that's going to be a key factor whether the game actually goes ahead. But if it does, then we'll be ready. As I say, the 2 new strikers are available, so it gives us a bit more firepower to go to Dartford with. And it'll be a tough game, and I'm sure it'll be a really good game. And whoever is the best side on the day will be the one that goes in the hat.
Do you look at the trophy now, though, as a team at the level of Chelmsford City, could go a long way in it? You look at recent years, Halifax and Ferriby have both won it, and maybe the top National League sides don't get too interested until the latter stages. So there's an opportunity there, isn't there?
Yeah, I've noticed there's been a little bit of a trend with it, sort of over the last few years, where Gosport got to the final, lost to, I believe it was Cambridge at the time, but there's been a trend where I think a lot of these teams that are probably in the league above, probably a little bit like the FA Cup, some of them at times, they're not putting out their strongest teams and bits and pieces, and for us it's it's still a big competition, and you still get to Wembley at the end of it. It's, as I always said, with the FA Cup, it's more of a winnable one than actually trying to get to Wembley in the FA Cup. So always going to be tough because of the quality opposition you come up against. But I think this is only really now get left with the likes of the National League and the Conference South and North side. So there's no reason why we can't carry on in this competition for another few more rounds. But it's all about getting the right draws and turning up on the day. But I think it'd be great if Chelmsford could push on in it, because I think, as I said, they have been starved of this type of thing for a few years. So we're doing everything we can to try and get ourselves over the line, and also you have to remember that there is money at the end of these competitions, and that's massive for, I'm sure, for Dartford, for ourselves and everybody else in the competition, except probably 1 or 2 teams, that the money's not really a problem. So but for me, I'd love to take, in every competition we can, take Chelmsford as far as I can. And as I say, even, we've got the Essex Senior Cup that I'm sure you talk about as well. Moving on to Monday, and yet again, it's still a competition, although it's more of a localised one. It's a domestic one as such, but it's one that we really want to do well in. And I've said I don't want to lose any games of football at Chelmsford. And when we did unfortunately get beat at Dartford, it wasn't because I'd gone weak or whatever. It was, we always want to win it, but it was a tough draw. But I still remain to say the same, that our biggest thing here this year is trying to see if we can get in the playoffs and get promotion.
The fans will tell you they don't want to lose Monday night, won't they, because it's Braintree?
Yeah, I want to watch Braintree. I popped over there on Tuesday night. I see a lot of the old, see Lee Harding and the rest of the board there, and they welcomed me very much. It was nice to go back there. As I say, I think I've only been back there twice since, including on Tuesday night, since I left the club. Whatever they come with, there's rumours saying that they're not going to come too strong, but I also found out that they've got a squad of 28 over there. And I'm sure that it may not be their first starting 11 if they were playing in the league, but I'm sure it'll be very strong. I don't believe it's going to be kids, because if you've got 28 players, I'm sure 14 of them need a game. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still going to be Braintree. I'm not looking at anything else. I've got no control over that. I want them to come strong. I want a good game here, because to me that's what the competition deserves. I think the Essex Senior Cup is a very good competition, and it's one that I've missed over the last few years being at Stalford, because we play in the other section. We play in the Hearts Senior Cup, which we've done well in that as well, and the other cup over there is the Arts Charity one that I think we've won for the last 5 years. So it's always nice to try and stick in the Essex Senior Cup, because I do think it's one that the fans would like to see us bring home as well. So it's not whatever Braintree decide to do on Monday night will be down to them. I have no control over that, but whatever they do, we will be moving the squad about as well. So if that balances the books, then it should be a good game. So, we've obviously got a decent squad here, and there's people that need a run as well. So I'll be looking at the 2 games over Saturday and Monday, and we'll try and pick 2 teams that we feel can go out and win both games.
And then you look at that senior trophy, look at the Senior Cup. The trophy itself is a massive cup. It's a lovely old thing to have stood in your clubhouse, isn't it, as well? And winning breeds winning, doesn't it? Doesn't matter who you play, whether you're playing Tiddlywinks, whether you're playing your mates on a Sunday morning. Winning breeds winning, doesn't it?
That's the same mentality as what I've got. As far as I'm concerned, whatever competition we go into, we want to win it. And as you say, on the back of that, I think it just gives the players and the club a bit more mentality that, we want to win every game we do. I mean, even going back into pre-seasons, there are only little moral victories at times, but, when you play the bigger teams that come down, you still want to sort of go away with a result. So I'm just one of these. If I play a game of football, I'm going to stand on the touchline for 90 minutes. I want to see us do well, and I want to see us achieve and get the result. So I look at the same as the competitions. The trophy one is big for us because, I do think you have to really put your cup competitions in priority, and I think the FA Cup is always a big one. I mean, you've only got to look now at Lincoln, just been at Portman Road and that type of stuff. So, that would have been, that's great for non-league football. I think the trophy then comes in as the next one because it's still a massive competition. It's a national competition. And I think that's the next one that you really look to sort of try and do well in. And then I think underneath that you've got the Essex Senior Cup, which is just a little bit of bragging rights. So for me, all competitions, they've all got a reason why we want to do well in them. And plus, as you just said there, it's about winning games of football and keeping the confidence going. And we're doing as much as we can here to keep the crowds coming back. And I think in any competition that you play in, hopefully on Monday night, subject to the weather, hopefully we still get a decent crowd here on Monday night because, whatever competition we're in, it's still Chelmsford City out there, and hopefully the supporters recognise that as well.
And just finally, when we spoke before Christmas, it was all about getting in the playoffs. So that was the target in the summer, and the target over the Christmas period was to get yourselves into that top 5. So therefore, the next stage now is staying there, isn't it?
Yep, I mean, nobody wins leagues in January, February. But what we had set ourselves goals and targets, as we do. We have a certain amount of games that we put in a block, and we tell them what sort of points we want to get returned from that. And we did set ourselves a target that we wanted to be exactly where we are now. But as you say, it's no good just flirting with the playoffs. We want to try and stay in there. We want to try and remain there as much as we can till the end of the season. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is by winning games of football on a regular basis. So, as I said, Maidenhead has had a fantastic season. And rightly so. They've kept a lot of clean sheets and they're winning games. They've got a fantastic strike force there. And, you can't take that away from them. But I think the rest of us are sort of all in there and still believing that there's, that maybe if they are going to slip up, we've still got to play them yet. I'm sure they've got to play Ebbsfleet yet. So there's plenty of... and they drew with St Albans at the weekend, which I knew would be a tough one. So it just shows that the season is well alive. It's a little bit like the Premiership. Everybody fancies Chelsea to win it. But there's quite a lot of teams around there that fancy themselves that if they give them a little bit of a chance, then they're going to try and jump in that and capitalise on it.
And what you have had is you've had the backing of the board and the owners here, haven't you, to bring those players in. So you've got the support there from up above to keep pushing forward, to do what you need to do to get this club where it needs to get to.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor's been tremendous, and the board have been tremendous, and the fans have been outstanding, and that's one of the biggest things for me. I love to give the fans back, what they're looking for, and they travel home and away, and I try and do as much as I can to get them on our side. Obviously, as far as the club backing us, what we've done is I think we're just manoeuvring a little bit. It's a bit like a game of chess, really, and we've lost a few players, so we've had to replace them. So it's not that we've actually gone out and added on top of the squad or bought in marquee signings. We haven't. What I've had to do is when we've lost the likes of Shamir and Billy, I've had to sort of look to try and find replacements that I feel are going to be good enough to keep us in the league position that we're at. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I've got it right. I do think they're good lads, but as I say, we know a bit more as we get into the games, and then maybe I can sit here and give you another assessment of where we are.